The Admiral's hands trembled. Not from fear, no, fear had come and gone. What remained now was something colder, emptier. A hollow silence that even the hum of the command deck couldn't fill. His once pristine silver uniform was stained dark with soot and dried blood. Not his own, his crew, his warriors, the millions he led. Gone. Admiral Vrathek, once feared across 5 galaxies, stood before a cracked view screen that no longer showed the stars, but a graveyard. Ships drifted, split open like fruit. Fires still burned on what was left of the flagships. He watched, blinking slowly, as a single small vessel, ugly, crude, unmistakably human, floated untouched through the wreckage. "Pull up the last combat feed," he rasped. The deck officer, one of the few left alive, hesitated. His scales had gone pale. "Sir, you don't want to see it again." "I need to." With a reluctant motion, the officer tapped a command, and the screen flickered to life. It started like they'd expected. The humans had arrived in their laughable fleet, barely 1,000 ships. Most were small. None looked impressive. The Gorinthi Armada, Vrathek's pride and terror, numbered over 100,000. Sleek, engineered, battle-proven. They didn't fire first. The humans did. Their weapons weren't stronger. Their shields weren't better. But the chaos they caused, they moved like they knew something the Gorinthi didn't. They hit targets no one ever thought to defend. Communications nodes, life support hubs, the AI sync relays. Their ships split apart only to reform. One flew straight into a reactor core on purpose, taking 7 cruisers with it. No protocol, no formation, just pure madness. "Pause," Vrathek said. The image froze on the face of a human commander, blood running down his forehead. He was grinning while his ship burned. "What kind of species smiles while dying?" No one answered. Behind him, the bodies of his command crew lay slumped in their chairs. Silent. Gone. Some had been with him since the War of Frozen Moons. Veterans. Legends. He hadn't even gotten to say goodbye. "They should have lost," Vrathek whispered, more to himself than anyone else. "We had numbers. We had technology. We had everything." The officer behind him swallowed. "We underestimated them, sir." The Admiral turned, slowly. Underestimated? The word tasted wrong. Pathetic. This wasn't a mistake. This was annihilation. The humans didn't just win. They dismantled them, mind, body, and soul, and now they were sending a message. The console pinged with a new incoming transmission. It came from the human vessel still drifting outside. No encryption. Open channel. Arrogant bastards. "Put it through," Vrathek said. The screen flickered again, showing a woman. Mid-40s, graying hair, human military gear torn and burned. Her eyes were cold. "This is Commander Elena Hayes of Earth's 7th Resistance Fleet," she said. "To what remains of the Gorinthi Armada, this is mercy." Vrathek didn't speak. Couldn't. "We warned you," she continued. "We told you not to enslave our colonies, not to experiment on our civilians, not to burn our cities." She leaned forward. "You didn't listen." The feed cut out. Vrathek stood in the silence, shaking harder now. Not from rage, not even from defeat, but because deep in his bones he realized something the Gorinthi had never considered before. Humanity wasn't just fighting to win. They were fighting like they had nothing to lose, and somehow that made them invincible. The ruins of the command deck echoed with the groan of twisted metal. Life support systems flickered in and out, and the artificial gravity was beginning to fail. Still, Admiral Vrathek didn't move. He stood locked in place, staring at the darkened screen where Commander Elena Hayes had just spoken. Her voice still rang in his ears, not because it was loud, but because it was calm, cold, certain. They had just destroyed a fleet that could have swallowed stars, and they spoke like they hadn't even broken a sweat. The officer behind him stumbled, coughing from the smoke curling in through the vents. "Admiral, we have to abandon ship." "To where?" Vrathek muttered. "There's nothing left." "Some escape pods are still functional. One of the cruisers is limping nearby. We might make it." He didn't answer right away. He was remembering the simulations, the war games, the thousands of scenarios run by their finest tacticians and artificial minds. Every single one of them had predicted a quick, effortless victory. They had mocked the humans' outdated tech, their fractured systems, their reliance on chaos over structure. They never accounted for what it felt like to face them. He finally moved, shoulders heavy, and followed the officer down the corridor. Debris littered the floor, shards of armor plating, pieces of people, weapons dropped mid-battle. They passed a cracked viewport. Outside, the human vessel was still drifting, circling them like a predator not yet done with its prey. It made no sense. "Why didn't they finish us?" Vrathek said aloud. The officer hesitated. "You heard her. She said this was mercy." "No," the Admiral snapped. "That wasn't mercy. That was a warning. She wants us to tell the others. She wants this story to spread." They reached the hangar bay. It was chaos. Officers screaming, medics dragging wounded across the deck, escape pods filling quickly. There weren't enough for everyone. There never were. Vrathek looked at his crew. The proud Gorinthi, now broken and terrified. Some wouldn't even look him in the eye. He didn't blame them. As he stepped toward the last pod, a sharp voice crackled through the intercom. "Admiral Vrathek," it said. "Human again. Same woman." She was broadcasting to the whole ship now. "Before you flee like the coward you are, I want to tell you a story." He froze. "She was 17, Hayes continued. "Her name was Talia. She was my niece. She lived on Ballora 9 when your ships came." The hangar fell quiet. "She wasn't a soldier, just a student. You took her along with hundreds of others. Your scientists tore into them, treated them like lab animals." Vrathek's jaw tightened. "She survived long enough to send a message. One line. They're taking us apart, piece by piece. That's all we had left of her." The Admiral knew of the facility on Ballora 9. One of many. He had approved the harvest protocols himself. "You could have fought clean," Hayes said. "But you made it personal. So did we." The message cut out again. No orders followed. No demands. Just silence. Vrathek climbed into the pod, and the door hissed shut behind him. As the launch sequence began, he looked back at the flaming remains of the Gorinthi flagship, once the mightiest vessel in the fleet, now just another burned carcass in space. The pod shot away, leaving the wreck.